Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of What's Your Story? Today we have the great pleasure of sitting down and talking with Maxine Thibodeau. So welcome to our program, Maxine.
Thank you, Mary Lou. I'm happy to be here.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We usually start our conversation off with where you grew up. People like to know where you were born, where you lived the first few years of your life.
Yes, well, I have a little story in that I was born in Canada. My mom married an American from across the border in Aroostook County. I was born in Canada, but I never lived in Canada. We lived in Caribou, Maine until I was 10, and then we moved to Portland. So it depends on who I'm talking to as to where I'm from.
So would you be considered a dual citizen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Actually, I was until I wanted to vote, and so then I had to declare citizenship, and I declared American citizenship.
So, how does that work for your children? Do they, since you were born there, now could they apply for a dual citizenship?
Well, the rules have changed quite a bit. For a while, I was considered just an American. I didn't have the dual. Now I could reinstate my Canadian citizenship, but they also would be able to. But there's a process that goes along with it.
Yeah. And especially during the pandemic, it's probably even more of a process.
Well, we haven't been able to visit, and cross the borders.
Where did you go to school?
I went to school in Portland.
Yeah.
I graduated from St. Joseph's Academy, which was run by the Sisters of Mercy. Then hence became Catherine McCauley.
Oh, right.
And then hence, forget what the name of the school after that, and now it's closed.
Yes.
McCauley actually merged with, or Cheverus actually became both boys and girls. So that's where I went to school.
Yeah, it's really too bad that Catherine McCauley isn't,
Well, the Sisters of Mercy were a strong force. They really were, and it is sad that they've lost that. But
and so beyond that, did you go to nursing school?
Yes,
is that right?
Yes, actually, I went to nursing school in Canada. Which was, I had cousins that had graduated from St. Mary's Hospital in Montreal, and because of my Catholic background and my mother's strong religious sense, she felt that I needed to go to a Catholic nursing school. So I did go to St. Mary's.
And how long were you a nurse? And what was your focus?
Well, my focus was actually pediatrics, and my first nursing job was at Boston Children's Hospital, which was fantastic. Still my favorite. But that was I hence became a pediatric nurse clinician as well. I've done a lot of different types of nursing in my career.
And did you teach nursing
I did.
well? I think I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, I ended up teaching in the School of Nursing at USM.
And there's a lot of nurses that come out of that school and have, they have great jobs right around the area, and
the great thing about nursing is that, and I used to tell my students that there are so many opportunities in nursing, and I, for one, had many opportunities. I actually worked for Anthem, the insurance business for Medicare for a long time, and that was also a really good opportunity for me. Not being in the clinical setting was an eye-opener as well.
Now, if somebody wanted to get into nursing now, would you recommend that field?
I still recommend it. Absolutely, because number one, you always do have a job opportunity, and the education that goes along with it is also very, very good.
Yeah. How hard is it to pass your boards? That's what I always worry about.
Well, I took my boards in Canada, and actually it was reciprocity with the U.S. too. So it depends on the school that you go to.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and it depends on the type of student you are.
And anybody in your family follow in your footsteps?
No,
Any children?
no, they did not. I have 5 children, and not one went into nursing.
But one followed in your husband's
Yes,
footsteps,
yes,
right?
yes. One did become a physician.
And can you tell us a little bit about what she's been doing? Because I think she's been quite busy this last year.
She has been very, very busy. She's the infectious disease physician at York Hospital, and has had a very, very challenging year. Absolutely loves her job, but it's been an opportunity that not too many infectious diseases physicians have had the opportunity to do a global pandemic.
Yeah.
The last one was in 1918 on this scale. So she did go to India for three different times, and as a student, and also when she did her fellowship.
I can't believe, and she's really held it together, because I think you and I have had a few conversations this past year, and you have been able to give us so much wonderful advice about even when we've tried to open the library, and sort of what's been coming, what's been coming here in Maine, and we really appreciate that. But I can't imagine, for somebody like that, I think about her. How do you even sleep at night? Because you must just be like on all the time trying to figure out what the hospital is going to do, and what the people of Maine are going to do. And so she's been a great help, I think, with a lot of that, and also you. So
Yeah, she's had the opportunity in York also to work with the community and to learn, or to meet a lot of the people in that community that were so responsible for what we've been doing here in Kennebunkport.
Wow.
So you have to look at something like this as an opportunity as well, even though it's a big challenge.
Yeah. And so, speaking of Kennebunkport, why Kennebunkport? Why did you decide to be here?
Well, my husband and I are both Mainers, and when we met, we knew we always would settle in Maine. He did go into the military, and he was stationed in West Berlin, both of us, where our 3rd child was born in West Berlin. It was then West Berlin in the 70s. It was considered a hardship tour, but it was, again, another great opportunity. I loved it. We learned a little bit of German. And then he was transferred, he asked to be transferred to the Launch Tool military base, which was a referral for all of Europe then, and it was a big surgical center. So we were in Germany for 3 years, came back, lived in his hometown of Fort Kent, Maine for a year, and then decided that maybe southern Maine might be a little bit easier for us in some ways. So we knew we had met Jean Briggs' husband, Frank, from Mascove Gallery, and hence Jean recommended a real estate agent in Kennebunkport. So my husband worked in Biddeford, but we liked Kennebunkport.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful area.
Yeah.
And did your children go to school here, or they were when you moved?
Right. They all went to Consolidated, which is just a wonderful school.
Yeah.
Just wonderful. They got their high school education from private schools. Yeah.
And every single one of them, they all do different things.
Yes.
So you have a doctor.
Yes.
You have a musician.
Yes.
You have an artist.
Yes. Yes.
And what else?
We have 2 other children. One is a Pilates instructor out in California, and our other daughter in Portland works for a company for IDEX, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's, what a nice variety of.
Yes.
And they're all doing well.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's a few grandchildren?
Yes, we have grandchildren. They're so much fun. They're just so much fun. Yeah.
So you have a special thing with your family at Christmas time. Can you talk a little bit about what you all, there's one thing that you all do at Christmas, and you've been able to keep that going, right?
Yes, we did not this year,
Yeah.
for the first year in about 7 years, yes. We have a book club, and for the most part, I select the book, and I send it to all the children, and we discuss it at the family dinner. And so the criteria has been a book either about Maine or written by a Maine author.
Okay.
So we've had some very, very interesting conversations.
I bet.
Our first book was by Colin Woodward, called The Lobster Coast.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And that was really good, but it was long, and not everyone finished it.
Does that mean they don't get dessert?
One of the most controversial ones was Becoming Nicole, and
Okay.
that was also very, very interesting, we had a healthy discussion on that one as well. Yeah.
And so for the grandchildren, do they have a separate book that they read?
Well, the
or-
oldest one is, she was 6 or 7 at the time, yeah. We had I'm trying to think of the name of it right now. The Pine Tree by, I can't think, or is it The Growing Tree? It was about this little tree that grows up and becomes a big tree, and then it's chopped down. What's the name of that?
Not the fir tree.
The
Is it
Fir
the fir
Tree.
tree by Margaret Weiss Brown?
I believe that might be it.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was 2 years ago,
Yeah,
so I
okay.
can't quite remember. But yes, so we will start to have
that's
a
great.
little discussion with them. Yeah.
Yeah, but what a great thing to do every year, and I think to be able to choose the book and just to have a lively discussion, something that you'll always remember. So,
Yes.
yeah. And a good way for them to experience Maine authors and books about Maine, and boy, do we have a lot. So,
Yes, we do.
So I don't
Yes,
know
we
if you'll
do.
ever run out.
I don't think we will. I don't think we will.
So and also speaking of books, can you share a little bit about this book that you brought with you today, and what that's all about?
Well, this is just a little a book of letters, actually, and it was bound by my son and his love, Deb, into a folder. And it is letters from my grandfather from 1917 to 1930. The ones from 1917 to 1918 were when he was in the war, World War I, stationed in France. These letters also are all in French, and these are how when we found them, they were all yellowed and taped together.
Incredible.
They were written to one of my grandfather's daughters who was in the convent learning to be a nun. She actually left the convent 3 times, subsequently married. So I think he was trying to encourage her. But the beauty of this is that it was in collaboration with one of my cousins, Leopold Charest, who is a Francophile, belongs to a community of Francophones. I believe that's what they're called. And they are an organization worldwide that want to preserve the French culture. He actually was one of their directors representing Canada for quite a while. So he was a big supporter of this, and we worked together. He is now working on my grandfather's diary that he has in his possession right now, and trying to preserve that. And then it's going to go to, we hope that it'll go to the archives in
yeah.
Ontario.
That's wonderful, because I think, the more that everything is digital and letter writing is not something that really many people do anymore, to find these treasures they really are absolutely priceless, and to put them somewhere so that people can look at them and not just stuff them in a drawer. And so,
Right.
thank you for doing that work.
Yes.
It's not easy to put that together, but it's really important to do that and preserve history, and even on a personal level, so
Well, his
that's
letterhead
really wonderful.
was commissioner of the Supreme Court in the town in New Brunswick.
Oh, wow.
So some of them are quite. They were typewritten as well too.
Yeah.
I never met my grandfather. Unfortunately, he passed away before I was born. But
you probably have learned a lot about him.
an awful
Yeah.
lot about
Yeah.
him. Yes.
Yeah. That's amazing. And so, have you thought about doing any of that yourself to preserve a little bit of your own?
Well, I started a diary myself during COVID. And I think I'm on day 391 or so.
Good for you.
And it's in pages.
Yeah.
And so I have not missed a day yet in writing in it. And a lot of it is related to COVID and its impact on the family and the community.
So what would be a typical entry that you would put in? Would you say, this is what happened today, or this is what I saw, or something like that?
Well, I followed my grandfather in that every day was the weather.
Okay.
3 or 4 words. So that's how I started.
Yeah.
I start with, day 390, Thursday, May, whatever.
Another rainy day.
day. That's it. And then whatever. Sometimes I've actually taken a newspaper article, whatever. But mostly, it's been mostly about COVID and the impact that it's had on our family and, again, like I said, the community. But also where we've been. There's a lot of personal in it.
That's really great.
Yeah. I'm surprised that I've been so diligent because usually I don't follow through that much with something like this, but I think my grandfather really inspired me to do this.
Wow. And I think that, for the future, when we are, gone, and grandchildren, great-grandchildren look back and they're going to be able to say, wow, my grandmother went through,
Yes.
because we
Yes.
don't know what that one in the early 1900s looked like. So, you hear about it, but you never think it's going to happen to you.
Right.
So,
Right.
and when it does, something like this can sort of help you get through
Yes.
something like
Yes.
that. So,
And not, we've had no family members that have died from COVID-19, but my mom had 2 siblings, so my grandparents had 2 children that died from the Spanish flu.
oh,
So, it does, there's quite a bit of anxiety
Yes.
over something like a pandemic.
yeah. And I think having, like your diary, can just help people, have that connection to family, and yes, I will get through this because you
Yes.
did.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so I think that's really nice that you've been able to do that and keep it up.
Yeah, and it'll be just the family, and maybe
Well,
they won't even be interested, but who knows? It's helped me. Anyway.
But I think but even that, I mean, looking at,
Yes.
what you've put together through letters, it really is, it's very special. So, so you and, I'm going to switch over to a couple of board things. So you're on our board here at the library.
Yes.
And there were 3 of you who got together for a number of meetings down at Mornings in Paris. You actually paid for the Paul's renovation in the back with all your cups of coffee that you bought. So you planned out our garden tour. We were not able to do one last year, but the year before. So 3 of you, almost 2 years in the planning, put this amazing garden tour together. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that helped the library from your perspective?
Yes.
I could say a lot, but I think...
Well, you're right. Al Schulteis, Janet Powell, and I started talking about the garden tour, and it was a year and a half in the making. And it accumulated with just such a wonderful success and fundraiser for the library. Not only were the gardens beautiful, the hosts of the gardens were so accommodating, and the number of volunteers that we had for that one day was, I think, 64 different volunteers. So it was really, I'd like to say a lot of work, but we got so much enjoyment out of it and so many opportunities that we were just so happy to do it for Graves Library.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate it. It was beautiful. I did not tour any of the gardens. I was the ticket person over at Consolidated School. But throughout the day, people would check in and I'd hear all these wonderful stories about, the various gardens that were on the tour. There was one story about Mrs. Bush, Laura Bush.
Yes.
Do you remember that story?
Oh, yes.
That's a pretty good one.
Well, there's several stories, but yeah, I think I do remember the one down at Cape Porpoise.
Yes.
Yeah. You can tell that one.
Sure. Well, I think I have this right. But whose house was that at?
That was at, oh my goodness. Yes. Yes.
Anyway, she was talking about painting her house, and she had recently had it painted, and she wasn't quite sure of the color. I guess that's how the story goes. And Laura Bush happened to be walking through her garden on the garden tour with a few of her friends. And so this woman had just painted her house white. And so when they were talking about the paint job and whatnot, Laura kind of walked by and said, I used to live in a white house.
Yes.
So I thought that was one of the funniest stories that I heard. But the preparation of, not just for you all, of getting volunteers and getting all the coordination, but the homeowners, they really did a fabulous job of their gardens and getting them spiffed up and we're happy. They seemed very happy to participate.
And they were. Some of them were there, but most of them just let us be the guides and the host for the garden. But we were very, very careful to preserve the gardens and make sure that that everyone, was very respectful.
Right. So we're not having one this summer, but
No.
hopefully in 2022
We hope
maybe
so.
we'll do another one.
We hope so.
It was so nice. And
Yes.
so let's hope for that. So we usually end our conversation with a rapid fire round. So you can give some one-word answers to the quick questions that I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
What's your favorite color?
Oh, my favorite color is pink. Deep pink.
Deep pink. Favorite book?
Oh my gosh, I have so many favorite books. One that impressed me when I first read it was The Prophet by Cahill Gibran. I was in high school.
Okay.
And for some reason that always stuck with me. I still have that original book.
Favorite vacation spot?
Oh, I don't know. I think probably right here in Kennebunkport.
Oh, excellent. You're not the first person to answer that question that way. How about your favorite restaurant?
Again, we tend to stay in Kennebunkport. So we do like to go to Hurricanes.
Okay.
The Colony, I love going to the Colony to sit by the pool. So that's two.
Okay, that's okay. Do you have a favorite cocktail?
Gin and tonic.
Gin and tonic. Is there a favorite thing that you like to do locally? You kind of just answered that by going to the colony and sitting by the pool.
In the
Anything
summertime.
else?
Well, you know, we have a ski house, so if you want to say local Maine,
local Maine.
then at Sunday River, and spent a lot of time there this winter.
I bet.
Yeah, yeah.
And the last question is, what's your favorite library?
Oh, is there any other choice? Graves Library, of course.
You
Right
could
on
say
Main
a
Street.
different one, but we appreciate that. So thank you so much for being here with us today. It's always a pleasure to sit down with you and talk about your life. It's just incredible, and all the things that every time we sit down, I learn something new about you. So really appreciate you being here today with us. And we will see you the next time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary Lou.